Get to know Kevin E. Ross, owner and principal brand manager of the Twoguard Group, an entertainment and brand marketing company.
We
All right,
are.
Kevin, well, let's dive on in. I know you live in Chicago. Where were you born and raised, and how did you end up in Chicago?
So, originally born in Oakland, California, to Dolores and Eugene Ross. Both of them were in the Air Force. And I moved to Germany when I was about a year old, and we lived there for 3 years. So I'm originally a Californian. I grew up in Davis, California. I graduated from the University of California, Davis, and then Sacramento subsequently after that. I spent most of my developmental years in my career as a DJ on radio in Sacramento and things like that. So that's where I'm originally from. And then I lived in LA for a year with my first record company job in '95 for Motown Records. I moved to LA for a year, and then in 1996 I moved to Chicago, and that's where I am now, and I've been here ever since.
You spent so much time in Chicago, almost as much time as you spent in Cali at this point. So
At this point, I can't even find an old California ID anywhere. All of my mail comes is in Chicago. My ID says Chicago, and so I'm unofficially a Chicagoan.
you are a Chicagoan for sure. That's awesome. And so then you launched your company, which I remember this, the Twoguard Group.
Yes.
I know it has something to do with basketball or your experience in basketball, right? What's the significance of the name?
Correct. So this isn't going to be one of those dynamic stories where a team of experts sat around and came up with the name. The truth of the matter is, I decided to start my company because there was a client, an artist that came to me and said, "Hey, I need some help with my independent music and my independent platform." I said, "Okay, great. Well, I'm still working for a major record company, but I can help you on the side." So I didn't have a name for my company. And so the meeting I was supposed to have with the client was the next day. So I'm up at 1 a.m. trying to think of names for my company. All I had was an idea, and I had a skill set. And I went through all kinds of great names, some sexy names and they all sucked to me. So I remember I said, okay, I played two-guard when I played basketball in high school, college. I played the two-guard position. And I said, two-guard. So I basically hypnotized myself into thinking two-guard is a great name, plus to guard my client's interests. That's two-guard's job, is to guard our client's interests. So that's how the name came about. The next day I had the meeting at 11 a.m. And that client was actually Dallas Austin, who produced TLC and some others.
Wow.
And started working for Dallas, and we took off at that point. So that's the magic story.
I love that story. What's the two-guard do in the game of basketball?
So the two-guard, so your point guard pretty much runs the team, right? That's the person with the ball in their hands most of the time. The two-guard is really designed to take the pressure off of him. He's a shooter. He also helps the point guard get everybody into position. Another reason the name is actually pretty good, because our company helps people position themselves properly with their platform. So the two-guard is more of a shooter and a scorer, but also a defender, things like that. So that a good example of a two-guard would be like Allen Iverson or somebody like that. That he plays the two as opposed to being the main person handling the ball all the time.
Got it. You taught me a lesson today.
Hey.
Your company is ever expanding, and I love that. So can you specifically pinpoint what solutions and contributions your business provides? Because I know you're so multifaceted.
Yeah, no question. The multifaceted aspect of the company was on purpose. Back in the 90s, I would see that there were artists, music artists, because I of course bring a 30-year music industry experience and career to the table. Back in the 90s, I used to see people like Missy Elliott and LL Cool J, and yes, they were artists, but they also had commercials, they had clothing endorsements, they were in movies, they were on television. So when I started Twoguard, that was actually the model that I wanted, was something that would allow the independent artist to be able to have access to a number of different resources that they ordinarily would only have if they were signed to a major label. Every artist can't get signed to a major label. And so I started off with music artists, and subsequently I've now expanded it. I have a wonderful author, and Audrey Todd, and we do personal branding for her. We also help her promote her book. I've done some event marketing. We were the only African American company here in Chicago to partner with a brand called City Winery, which has performance and restaurant venues nationwide. So basically, I wanted to be multifaceted. We just added a film and television element. I was the music supervisor on a couple of independent films over the last couple of years. And so I'm also, you're the first one who's going to get this news. I'm developing a music television show that will be based here in Chicago, will be streamed, and it will also hit the TV networks. There hasn't been anything like that since Soul Train, and one of my mentors, Don Cornelius. So I wanted to be very diverse and offer to the independent an opportunity to get their platform off the ground. Most artists, once they've created, they don't know where to go. And so that's probably one of the main things that we contribute, is that we give you a start, we help organize you, and then we give you access to those resources, if that makes sense.
That. That's amazing. I mean, you're a brilliant man, you know, to come up with all
thank you.
To continue to
Thank you.
thrive. Which brings me to
I'm nothing without people like Puffy, who I've worked for, Andre Harrell, rest in peace, who just passed away, creator of Uptown. These are people who actually sat down with me when I would ask them, and they would give me advice. And so mentorship is very integral in my platform.
And now you're carrying the torch. You're a visionary, and you're helping artists the same way that they did. So I definitely see you in that same lineup.
Thank you. My mother wouldn't have it any other way.
That's like, to my next question. It sounds like you've continued to thrive during this pandemic. So that's why I wanted to talk to you today about pandemic perseverance. Have you been affected in any way by this pandemic? Because it seems like you're just rolling.
Look, you know what, Twoguard, I'm going to be very honest with you. I struggled like everybody else in the beginning. I kind of saw what was developing, because I was paying a little more attention to the news. I think we live in a time where we have so much input that we're not really sure what to pay attention to. We're not sure what to believe because of various media sources and things of that nature. But I was kind of paying attention to what was happening. But I, like everybody else, I was when they finally installed the lockdown orders, I was sleeping 10, 12, 14 hours. I would wake up, I wouldn't know what day it was. I wouldn't know what time it was. This year was all the way up here. I was looking like Santa Claus. I was watching a whole lot of daytime television. I mean, I was out of sorts just like everybody else, because right now we're in the middle of something that's very, very, very difficult, and really hasn't been seen since the pandemic of 1918, and it affects everybody. This is one of the few things that affects our commerce. It affects our social outlet. It affects everything. So I was privy to, I was also, a person who was affected by that as well. It took me about a month to get my feet underneath me, and I credit my spiritual strength and upbringing to be able to help stabilize me. I started praying more, started meditating a little more, and then I said, hey, the internet's not broken. Everything else might be closed, but the internet is still going. And my company was moving in a digital direction anyway, in terms of promotion and marketing and branding and having our clients expand their platform. So I just went back to work. And Audrey Todd, an author that we're working with, we started getting her interviews and things of that nature. And we just kind of picked up where we left off, completed with my film and television partner, Daryl Pitts. Daryl has an Emmy for a documentary called Real Black Love, and he did 20 years at BET. So he and I partnered together last year. We completed our studio, which is going to be a streaming and a music studio right over where CineSpace is, which is the big studio here in Chicago. So we went and we got a U-Haul, we put the equipment in there, and basically I just got back to work, and praise God, I'm able to move forward. So that's what it is.
Wow. I mean, just wow. Just wow. Like you said, everybody's been affected. This is a universal situation and a universal difficulty that we're all experiencing in some way. And of course, a lot of people are, have it a much more challenging.
Absolutely, they do. Absolutely. I pray for those people. And I guess the one piece of advice I could give, you're such a great interviewer. You are probably going to move towards this, but I would tell people that I've been able to utilize this time to study. I've watched more documentaries than I ever have. I've watched more Zoom seminars than I have in the last 5 years. I've done more reading, and I think this is an opportunity for us to really take time to get back to ourselves, better ourselves, strengthen ourselves, and improve on what we already have, and get ourselves ready, because this isn't going to last forever. Nothing ever really does. It may seem like it, but prepare yourself for coming out of this. I think that's the one piece of advice I could give, because it will pass.
Great advice. Absolutely great. During a universally difficult time in the world, obviously you just gave us some golden wisdom there to encourage people to be diligent and dedicated with life, career, and business goals. You suffered a heart attack.
I did.
What year was that? 2 years ago?
That was actually 4 years ago.
4 years ago. 4 years ago, you suffered a heart attack. 4 years later, your business is thriving. Then the pandemic falls out of the sky, and the world is affected universally. How do you encourage people who are in the entertainment industry, whether it be media, business, TV, film, to continue to create, to continue to produce, continue to create ideas, to get out of that slump creatively?
Well, I think it's twofold, and it's interesting that you would ask that question. There's a pop artist here in Chicago who I think is struggling with that right now. So it's twofold. Number one, I think you already have to have it inside you that being creative is a gift and it's an outlet. So you have to do it one way or another. Now, me personally, if I were a singer or a songwriter, I'd have 2 or 3 albums done by now. If I was Prince or someone of that nature, I probably would have 2 or 3 albums done, because I believe that you really, it's natural. It's inherent in you to create. But if you find yourself running up against some difficulty or writer's block or some type of difficulty creating, just remember where you came from. Just remember your gift. Just remember what you've been through. I think it's really important for us during this time to reflect as well as look towards the future. So for me, I was able to look and say, man, like you said, I had a major coronary episode that only 5% of people who suffer that same type of episode, only 5% of people survive. So that means 95% of people aren't going to be here talking to you on a Saturday morning. So I'm grateful for that. So that motivates me. And sometimes, to be very honest, sometimes we all lose our motivation. Sometimes we think, man, yeah, I have watched you. That's why I'm such a big admirer of yours. I've watched you leave from Chicago. You went to Los Angeles, one of the most competitive markets on faith, and you believed in yourself. And I watched you as you gathered market by market as you did your show. That's how people have to think. I think that's how we have to think as creatives, is continue to believe in your vision. Continue to believe that you have the skills and you have the gifts that you have for a reason. And that will keep you moving forward. And even if we all run into a rut. There's some times I was getting up and I say, I'm just not going to do anything today. Today, I'm just going to watch Judge Judy. And that's all it's going to be. But then I always remember that there's a reason that I'm here. There's a reason that I've been so blessed to work with people like Anita Baker, Boyz II Men, Brian McKnight, Tamia. These are things I used to dream about when I was a kid. So stay motivated and remember there's a reason that you're here.
Love that. Very inspirational to anyone who is, taking a break from creating or producing, or anyone out there who, has goals to produce or create something. That's
absolutely
sound advice. So thank you.
Yeah,
so I'll ask you this: what's in store for the future of Twoguard Media Group?
Oh my gosh, so much. So I a few years ago, while I was curating a stage for the an event out here called the Silver Room Block Party, which is a pretty huge festival in Hyde Park, where President Obama is from. They do a street festival every year that draws anywhere from 40 to 50,000 people across the city and even across the country. Well, one year I curated a stage and I put an artist on. Her name is Cherry Soul. She's from Chicago. And I guess the best way for me to describe her is if Lauryn Hill and Chaka Khan and Erykah Badu all had a baby together, this is who she would be.
Okay.
She sings, she raps, she produces her own music. She does spoken word. She even makes jewelry. She's absolutely amazing.
She's the ultimate creator.
Oh my goodness. She dances. She teaches dance classes. I call her Jodie Watley. She's only about this tall.
Okay.
And so she's like Chaka Khan, very petite. And so Cherry Soul and I put her on and she wowed the crowd. And it just took us years to finally connect. So as you were saying earlier, during this pandemic, I said, I'm going to reach out to her and tell her that I have a plan and I have a platform. And so to launch my TV show with Daryl, she is our first artist. So she has some amazing music. You're going to be hearing about her and seeing her very soon. Her visuals are amazing. She's just and she's so spiritual, such a brilliant talent. So she's coming from our music platform.
I would love to talk to her.
Oh, there's no question. You're the first one. You'll get her first, trust me. And then Lorenzo Owens, who back in 2008, Lorenzo participated in something that Oprah had. She had her own music competition called Oprah's Pop Star Challenge, where she had singers from across the country submit material, and they had a contest, and there was ultimately going to be a winner. Well, Lorenzo is from Chicago, and he was so dynamic. And you had judges like Babyface, Tony Braxton, et cetera, who were judging this contest for Oprah. Well, he made it to number 2 with 8 million votes. He literally almost won the contest.
Wow.
He's from Chicago. He and I connected a couple of years ago. We're finally now starting to work on some material. He has a song called When the World Says No, which is very relevant for the conditions of today. Kind of like it's reminiscent of a
song of sorts.
Yeah, it's reminiscent of Happy. I'm just going to be shameless. It's very reminiscent of a song like Happy by Pharrell. Very up-tempo, great song. He's a wonderful talent, a great singer. I mean, he actually made Oprah shed a tear when she was talking about him in an interview. So she really loves him. He's working on a full album at this point. And then I know you remember my artist Marwan, who is a neo-soul artist here in Chicago.
That's where it started, with Marwan.
Yes, now it's all coming back to both of us. So
I remember now. It was Marwan. That's where I met
so Marwan and I reunited about a year and a half ago. He took some time off. He just had 2 children. Mm-hmm. He just had 2 twin girls. Mm-hmm. Yeah, with his girlfriend at the time, who was also one of my artists. Well, he's got some fantastic music. We shot a music video last year for a song called You Mad, and he's still creating, and so we're hoping to get his stuff out this year. So that's on the music side. As I said before, curating a music television show that will be based here in Chicago. It will focus on major and independent talent, putting them together, sometimes in a conversation, other times in a performance atmosphere. And, I'm just excited. I'm really excited. I want to continue developing our authors platform. I think there's some wonderful authors out there, especially female authors, women who have some amazing stories to tell. And we want to help be able to do that. We're going to be working more also in the community this year. We're going to be working more with some of the food banks, some of the neighborhood festivals, helping rebuild some of these Black businesses in the neighborhoods, and especially on the south side of Chicago. So there's just a number of different things that I want to do, that I want to just continue to work on, and I want to be better today than I was yesterday, and better tomorrow than I am today. That's what I want. So,
well, you are here for a reason. I'm excited about
Praise God.
that your business is offering, and I'm also excited about how selfless your heart is, where you want to give back and build up the city of Chicago. So kudos and congrats to you on everything that you are doing.
Thank you.
If anyone is interested in working with you, partnering with you, or talking to you, or being mentored by you, how can they connect with you and follow your journey?
So I have 600 million social media handles, which
Here we go.
probably too many. So let's start with the most basic, and we'll keep it simple. So my personal Instagram is at KROSS Chicago. That's at KROSS Chicago. That's on Instagram. The company Instagram is at Twoguard, TWOGUARD Media. You can find me there, find us there. On Facebook, it's Kevin E. Ross, and Facebook, again, the Twoguard Group, TWOGUARD. Look it up. There's nobody else on there. I have the record label, as I referenced to you earlier, and I will be launching a T-shirt line also later this year that people will be able to see. But those are basically the places that you can find me. Twitter, same thing, at KRoss Chicago, at Twoguard Media.
Okay. We got all the socials. Well, Kevin E. Ross, thank you for being on the Show today. I'm